Good afternoon, everyone, and we welcome you to our Community Development and Home Program Funds full year 2022 Consolidated Plan meeting and conversation and schedule. We're now going to turn you over to Ms. Angie Fordyce, our Community Development Coordinator, and she's going to give you our instructions for today.
Good afternoon, everyone. This year, we have changed up our application for our CDBG and our home funding process. So you should have it on your screen now. And during this meeting, what we're going to do is just go through the application. You can just kind of follow along. We'll go section by section. And then if you do have any questions when you are filling out the application, you can certainly email myself or Anita, and we can get back to you with any with the answers to those questions. So I will have Chris go ahead and pull us up to section A. Okay, so section A is going to be our introduction. In the middle of the page, you'll see items 1, 2, and 3. These are our goals that are listed in our 5-year consolidated plan. The projects must meet an objective of these goals to be considered for funding. And there is a link to the consolidated plan right there in the application. We will have this posted today on our website, so you'll have access to that. But we do list right in the application the 3 goals for our consolidated plan. Okay, section B. This is just going to be our approximate funding levels for fiscal year 22. And what we do is we just base these on our prior year funding, since our annual allocations have not been determined at this time. And then section C. This is our federal, our HUD federal regulations. And number 1, we're going to start off with our national objectives. So for an application, again, to be eligible, you do have to meet one of our national objectives. You do have to benefit low to moderate income persons, whether it be on a limited clientele benefit or on a low income area. You would need to prevent or eliminate slum and blight, or provide an urgent need. And then listed below, you'll also find our current income guidelines, and that would be for participants of your programs. And then also in section C, you're going to find our eligible activities. So not only does the project that you are looking at have to meet a national objective, but it must be an eligible activity. And then we also have some ineligible activities listed in that section as well. Okay, now we have section D, and this is going to be our Home Investment Partnership Program. Section D talks about our home funds. Section 1 is going to be the eligible activities. There are not as many activities that our home assistance will provide. So they are, a summary of those activities are listed in number 1 there. Number 2, we have our a listing of eligible activities. And if anyone is interested in the home activities, I do have some other handouts that are that do pertain to home. We do have the income limits, we have rent limits, home ownership value limits, maximum per subsidy limits. So if anyone is looking at those activities, you can certainly let me know, and I will send you out some of the additional information if you do need it. It is all determined by HUD, so we would just pass those regulations on to you. Okay, section E of the application is going to be our application guidelines. And so this area is just pretty much the requirements of what must be submitted with the application. And it talks about our December 31st deadline. We are accepting applications until noon. No late applications will be accepted. Okay, section F. In this section, we're going to be talking about our review process. We do select a subcommittee that will ultimately review all the applications. Prior to applications going to our subcommittee, they will be reviewed by community development just for program eligibility. If your project or your program does meet a national objective and is an eligible activity, the application is forwarded on to our subcommittee, who ultimately will make recommendations for any specific budget allocations to our community development board, and then our final allocations will be determined. Okay, section G. This is pretty much just our reservation of rights. We do reserve the right to reject any proposal. Section H. This is going to be our post-award and subrecipient criteria. All awards will be subject to pre-contract negotiations and a pre-evaluation of the project to determine capacity. And we do have some regulations highlighted in this section as well. If you are chosen, if you receive funding for your project or your program, you'll be required to submit articles of incorporation, state and federal tax exemption determination letters from the IRS, your conflict of interest policy, documentation of your compliance with the national objective, and then we'd look at your activity. Okay, moving on, we're coming up to the actual application itself. So this first page, this is just going to be a checklist that will help you in determining what you need to submit to us. And then the first page of the application is going to be our cover page. This is just going to give us basic information about your project or your program. And then the next page is going to be the actual worksheet. Okay, so in section 1, you will just check which national objective is being met by your program or your project. Number 2, your service location. In these boxes that are provided, you will want to make sure that all of your information fits in the box. So you can either, if you're typing if you're typing your application online, the boxes should adjust. If you're finding that you just can't fit it all, you can just do the service location. Again, provide the description, the question that's being asked, and then you can just follow it with your answer if you're finding that these boxes are a little bit too hard to maneuver. So we'll accept that either way, either in the box form or just by the question and answer. 3 would be documentation. Again, this is just us collecting more information about how your program will run. Number 4, we're going to have you select an objective, an outcome, and an output indicator, and then provide a narrative on the specific project indicators as well. Okay, so the next page, we are going to discuss the project or program narrative itself. So number 1, the agency description. This will be your mission statement, information, maybe some history on your agency, and the capacity of your agency. Number 2 is going to be our program or project description. So if you just let us know what program you're wanting us to fund. Give us some background on it. 3, project management. This is where you'll give us a description of who will be running your program, the credentials they have to run that program. Readiness to proceed, number 4. This is where we'd like you to give us a timeline of your program. Give us dates, start and end dates, all the specifics as far as the timeline goes for your project. And number 5, budget for the project. If you want to just essentially give us a narrative as far as what type of budget you're looking for. We do have another section where we're going to need an actual line item budget. That'll be discussed in a second here. But just a narrative as far as, what each line item is for. Okay, number 6, partnerships, collaboration, and outreach. This section you can just discuss if you do have any partners, if you're working in conjunction with any other agencies, or maybe you've have another large funder that will be assisting in this program as well. You'd want to mention that as well. So yeah, just any partners or collaborations you have for this project. Okay, D is going to be your budget and revenue expenditures. In this section, again, we need you to have a line item budget for your project, and I need you to include all funding sources as well. Keep in mind, if it is a home project, you will need to provide a 25% match. So if you could include that, what your match funding will be. If you are doing a home project, we will work with you as far as match funding to help you determine, what match we can use as match, I should say. Okay, and item C, this is if you have had any previous funding, we would just like you to list that. Essentially, we just want to know what you have going on as budget-wise and just your experience with our programs. And on the last page here, we have a map of our low-income census tracts. I included this map. This is going to be important if you are serving an LMA area, so you're doing a low to moderate income area project. We'll need you to give great detail regarding the service area that you're going to be servicing, and give good details on the census tract that you'll be working within as well. Okay, I know we kind of went through that kind of quickly. Does anyone have any questions on any of that? No? Okay, well, so our submission deadline is going to be December 31st, and the deadline is noon. So if you can submit applications, if you'd like to email those in to Anita Merfeld at waterlooia.org. Anita's email is going to be listed in the application, or you can just mail that right to our Community Development Office at 620 Mulberry Street in Waterloo, 50703. And I am Angie Fordyce, so if anybody has any questions, you can certainly call me or email me. I know I do have a possible home project that is going to need some assistance. So if anybody else has any questions, by all means, let me know. So I don't know if anyone has any questions now.
I do have one question, Angie.
Okay.
This is Andrew with Habitat. As far as I know that you guys generally require a number of copies of the application. Is that still being required this year?
No, it won't be required this year.
Okay. Okay. Simple enough. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Okay.
Thanks, Angie. We're again thankful for you all who are participating with us virtually. We would have loved to see you all face to face in living color, but this will have to do for now. We would encourage you to reach out to us with any questions, comments before you actually submit your application, that we might help you prepare the best application possible, and that would help us in our evaluation versus trying to get a lot of things done at the last minute, especially being that a lot of these will be done prior to the holidays and prior to the new year. And we know how we all can get over the holidays, over the new year. So we encourage you not to wait to the last minute. Again, no questions, no comments. You guys are making this much too easy for us.
Rudy, I have one. This is Michelle Feltis. Can it be for multiple properties?
Yes, as long as you identify each property, and we would probably suggest, I think I've got an idea what you're planning on doing, so individual site budgets, and then maybe a total budget that might be inclusive of things like any administrative costs, if allowable. Sure. And what we would encourage also is that you prioritize property 1, property 2, property 3, in case our funding limitations would not allow us to consider all 3. So we'd like to know which one would you have as a priority, if that helps.
Thank you, it does.
Anyone else? No questions for us? No comments? Everybody staying safe? Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to try one more time. No questions? If not, we're getting ready to close it up. Again, we thank you all for participating. We're looking forward to some great applications and a great funding cycle coming up as of January 1. Do look at your schedule so you'll know exactly what to expect, and it's subject to change, but more than likely this is going to be it for now. Again, thank everyone, and you all have a great evening and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.